So, I am recording this because I wanted to start a new podcast about something that was different than what I've been doing with my other show, Ray's World. I enjoyed this platform, and I enjoy the podcast form. So I want to continue, but I think I've told her story, and yeah, I think I prefer to go on to a new topic. So I am a amateur leather worker, spoon carver. I suppose you could call it whittling, but it's really just spoons that I make. Or I consider myself a maker of things, and I started doing this. I've always been into art, and it's what I majored in college, and it's been my claim to fame, I guess. The thing that I've enjoyed my whole life, and the only thing I've ever really received any accolades for. But I was working in the restaurant business, and as my wife was as well, and I stopped doing art and creating art for a long time. When you're in college, and when I first graduated high school and I got a drawing scholarship to University of Hartford, I wasn't ready for college. So it's one of my big regrets. I wish that I was ready, because that was a place where I was surrounded by people who were very serious about creating their art and learning, and I wasn't ready. So I lasted about a semester, and I came home, and long story short, I went back to school when I was 25. And this time I did not go to an art school. I went to community college, and I transferred to UMass Amherst. And I was still surrounded by people who were artistic and serious about their art, but it was a different culture. It was a different, there's levels, and it was a different level than University of Hartford. It was, I felt like I was majoring in basket weaving or something extremely useless. But, and I kind of grew sour on art. It became my homework. It became like writing a paper. Like, I just want to get this done because I need the grade and I need to, for a class. So when I finished and when I was done, I didn't do any artwork for a very long time, and I didn't see the merit in it. I was giving pieces away that I made in college, and here and there I would make something or paint something or draw something for a family member, do a portrait or something, but that's about it. And for years, Rachel, Rachel and I were together for 12 years, almost 13 years. She was my wife, and she passed away April 2017, cancer. And I started, and for a year and a half after she got diagnosed, that year and a half I didn't work. I didn't work full time. I worked sporadically, but so I was I was taking care of her, and I had this time on my hands, a little bit of time on my hands, free time that I hadn't had in the past, and and it started with me sharpening my knives for work. I wanted to learn how to really sharpen my chef knives, and I got into that, and the more research I did on that, I kept seeing these videos pop up and people using sharpening stones, and they were using a knife from a company called Mora Knife, Morakniv, and I kept seeing this knife company come up, and I thought, why do all these people have this knife? Why this is such a popular knife? And I looked into that company, and I found out that these knives were standard for wood carvers, like the absolute standard. Their focus is wood carving. So, I also found out that the price of these knives is ridiculous for the quality. They offer the absolute number one best spoon carving knife you can buy, and it's $19, you know. So I ordered one. I bought one, and I became a little fascinated with knives, with these knives for a while. And, you know, there are some collectors, people who collect knives, who are just into owning these knives, but I wasn't collecting, and I started ordering these Mora knives because they were so cheap. I wanted to know what their purpose was. I wanted to use them for their purpose. So I found out that they're made for whittling and carving. So I started to do that. And my first project was I decided I was going to carve a guitar pick. I started carving these guitar picks using wood that I found in the backyard and branches. And then I started buying basswood, finding out that that's something you can use to carve figures, and it's an easily manipulated wood. And the more I got into it, the more research I did, the more I kept coming across these spoon carvers. It's a little niche community of people who carve spoons. I thought it was a little absurd at first, but once I carved my first spoon, I realized what the fuss was about. And I got very into carving spoons and started carving them all the time. And Rachel enjoyed it. She was happy I was making things again. She was very supportive in all of that, my art stuff. And she just, she's just happy. I guess I realized I was starting to make art again. I got very into spoon carving. And that's all of my free time I was carving. And I found out that it's a wonderful therapy. It's a wonderful escape, making things. So I think I'm going to start casting and talking about making things. I think this is common for some spoon carvers, woodworkers, makers who eventually get into leather crafting. It's common that the two go hand in hand, because you buy these knives and these tools. And you have to buy an axe, a carving axe, and you need to make something to cover them. So, so I bought some scrap leather, started making sheaths, and a year and a half later, here I am selling fully booked, selling my leather craft. I'm now into carving and tooling leather and making custom pieces, but I'll get more into that. This is just an introduction. This is something that I think I'm going to start doing, but that's all my time for today. And I wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays.